So you're ready to start posting content, or you've already been posting content. You have an idea of what you want to talk about, how you want to share, who your community is. You've got all your ducks lined in a row, and you're really excited to be like, cool, I want to talk about XYZ topic. Then you start exploring the internet to figure out what kind of content I can create, right? And then you start seeing blogs like video is the number one form of content, audio, Clubhouse, podcast, and then you're like, what the heck do I create? Feeling a little overwhelmed, right? Totally get it. It's completely okay. A lot of the content that you're seeing online, especially at the high levels of frequency that you're probably seeing it online, is created by content creators who do this actually for a living full time. But you as a marketer or as a business owner who's interested in creating content for your brand, you don't need to feel overwhelmed in having to compete in that. All you need to do is figure out what content your customer wants, what brings you joy in creating content, and then how to make it together to inspire engaged action. So in this video, we're going to explore how to figure out what type of medium of content you should be creating on, whether that's long form or short form, and all of it above. Hello, happy human. My name is Lauren. That is pronounced like Lauren with an R instead of an L in the front. And I help change makers and marketers focus back on that human relationship and really connect with their ideal customers through human-centered marketing so that they can get out of the marketing fluff and back to building the impact that they really care about in their communities. If you're tired of fighting that ever-changing algorithm and really just want to connect with fellow happy humans that you love as your customers, I suggest you hit that like and subscribe button, and so that you can get constant content coming to you every single week. Alrighty, so let's dig in. So you might already have an idea of what you want to create content-wise, and you're thinking about how often you want to post, what kind of things that you want to post, and you're starting to formulate this idea, right? And then it feels like it's a lot. And then you start asking yourself, why do I need to create content? Is it purely for the sake of posting, just so that I can get people in front of me? Is it just like a gigantic microphone that people are hearing about? Let's cut to the chase a little bit. Here's the deal. You're not creating content for the sake of creating content. The reason why you're creating content is because social media, like I said before, is like a digital networking room, and each content that you're creating is inspiring engagement, excitement with you, so that that person remembers their engagement with you, right? If they're just mindlessly consuming content, you're not going to stay top of mind, because the next thing that engages them more is going to stay top of mind, right? But if you create content that is designed around inspiring action, then they will be so excited to remember you, so that the next time that you show up on their feed, there's already that personality, that trust that's already built in. And the next time after that, they may be excited that they're going to tag a friend, so that new person comes in is a warmer lead for you to engage and build trust with, right? This is a gigantic digital networking room. Each one of your content pieces is basically another time that you see them in the digital networking room. And think about all the times that you've been out networking, right? Each time you see the same face, there's a more familiarity. And then it might increase into a one-to-one engagement conversation, which is like a sales conversation or a referral partner conversation, right? So trust is being built every single time. And then after you have that one-to-one engagement and conversation with them, then you might see them again on social media, and that reminds you of that experience with them, right? So that's the power of social media. That is what it's designed to do. It's designed to inspire action and engagement and connection. How are you creating content that excites people to want to interact with you? Either through commenting on posts, tagging a friend, or even actually going straight to your website and purchasing from you as a product or a service. In this video, we're gonna do three things. We're gonna figure out what is the kind of content that your consumer actually wants, what is through the medium of which this content that you're creating that you're genuinely excited to constantly create with, and then finally, how you're building a following so that they are constantly coming together again and again, right? So every single thing that you're doing isn't for the sake of posting, it's so that you can build a trusting relationship, right? That is the core of human-centered marketing. if you watch one of my previous videos, I talk about the different forms of content, of how you can know me, like me, buy from me, and types of content. I'm not gonna go through like the specific types of campaigns in this video, but I will link it up right here if you would like to go check it out. Once you know the reason why you're creating a specific campaign or topic and tie it down to if it's foundational, promotional, or user generated, let's talk about how, like the actual medium of which you're actually going to be creating it. And there's a couple of key questions that I basically have a flow chart that I build in my brain that I ask clients as we go through it. The first question is, what is the inspired action that we're looking to take, right? Like, is it the step 1 down the customer journey, or step 2, or is it going through? Like, think about where they want to go. What is the inspired action? Couple steps down, right? Like if the action is to gain more followers and gain more friends, where are we pointing to them after that, et cetera, et cetera. That is a customer journey thought process, and stay tuned. We will have a video on that, but that's step number 1. The second question is it long form or is it short form content that we're creating? Not all video content, for example, is made equal, right? So a lot of people talk about Reels and TikToks. It's like number 1, super popular, all the things, but sometimes the point that you're trying to get across can't be done in less than 1 minute, guys. But we can divide and conquer with this. So think first of what is the reason why you're creating this content? And then what is the best way to talk about this content? Is it a more education style content where you are doing a deep dive that normally would be done in person on the event in a webinar, but you're trying to shrink it down into a video that's more educational about the product itself, right? So think about it, how you're going to build it out. Sometimes if you're like introducing a new product into the industry, if we use as an example, that can be shown in a conference, that can be shown in video, that can be shown in long form, right? The topic and the language is the same, but what if we can film a conference where you're explaining the product to a live audience and we get that on video that then we can then cut into multiple little bits that goes into Reels and TikToks that then point to the larger video that sits on a sales page, right? Think about it this way. A single long form content can be split into multiple different ways, and it can prolong the effect of the video. It makes it easier to where, from a production standpoint, we're spending less effort because we basically thought of a big sales pitch that then we shrink down into smaller bits. So the next question to also consider is how much interaction is needed, right? This goes back to the original question of like, what is the inspired action and goal that we're looking to achieve, right? And so what may come up with this campaign or medium style of content with the inspired action, it could change depending on the form. Is it more of like, I want to do this educational topic, but I want to create space where people can have discussion? Maybe that's better on a live stream. Another example is that maybe you have a long form content of a video that you're creating, but you really want feedback from your people of what they want to hear or talk about that you're creating in general. Like maybe you did all of the basics, all the stuff that you need that have helped you and supported you in the FAQs, but you still need content that continues to gauge and continues the conversation beyond the basics. And so maybe it's like a series of stories and engagement polls and things like that that leads up to the launch of this specific content piece that you're creating, and afterwards as well, so that you're not just building people to go to the content and then it's done, but it's afterwards where you're pointing them to where you want them to go. So after you figure out strategically how you want this topic to be presented to your customers, whether it is specifically done long form or short form, etc., now let's talk about what medium you want to create it. And when I use the language medium, whether it's video, audio, post, writing, right? It's because it's a form, it's an art form. Every single one of these digital media consumption, it's a medium of art, right? And it's very similar to painting. In video, we have short form video, long form video, YouTube, TikTok, etc., like all the bajillion types, right? And how I like to equate it is that it's similar to painting, where you got acrylic painting, watercolor painting, oil painting, etc. And the question that I get a lot of is, which medium should I use? Which one is the most popular, etc.? And my answer is that actually, none of this is going to go out of style. Some of them may be more optimized than others throughout the time period of the algorithm or whatever that they're pushing for as a new feature on an app, right? But it is still very applicable. And the reason being is because as human beings, we experience and process information differently. Each of us. Some of us are readers, some of us are audio, some of us are visual, right? Some of us are visual and audio. Some of us are experiential. Like it doesn't set in until I actually try it along the way. And that's where engagement kicks in, right? If you're teaching someone how to cook, but a lot of your people are more experiential, it's about, let me show you the video tutorial, and that's my main form of content, but then what is the additional consumption style? What is the additional engagement content that I'm creating so that my people can actually try and learn it together? Is there a webinar or a Zoom medium masterclass that I can teach people where they can actually engage with me? So it's not just a one-way experience where I don't actually get to interact with you. I'm just expecting that you've engaged with me in some way, right? So what is it that you're creating along the way? And the most key important question to ask is, what are you excited to create? Yeah, just like how as human beings and consumers, we consume content differently, we also create content differently. We all have different preferences. So it's about what brings you joy, because let's be real, even though video is number one, if you're not comfortable being on camera or you hate being on camera, then it's gonna show up on camera. I'm frank, yeah. And that's not fun, right? Every single thing that we do from a business and operation standpoint should be sustainable at the most. And sustainability is about what can we do that is most efficient? And you know what is the thing that tracks and changes efficiency in us human beings? It's what motivates us. Productive people are productive when they are doing things that they are actually excited about and they're motivated to do, right? So if you're creating content that you're not motivated to create, it's gonna show up on camera, it's not gonna be the quality that you want, and then you're just stuck in the constant editing cycle. So I'm gonna say, let's figure out what best aligns to you and then move forward with that medium. And also, creating content doesn't need to feel like you're creating 14,000 different content pieces. Like I said earlier, right? Everything thematically connects together. So you can create a single long form content that can be split 7 totally different ways, repurpose multiple different styles. It doesn't mean that you have to talk about this topic and this post and this topic and this post and this topic and the next post. That's not the way it works. It's really about how can you thematically tie it together. Because also, if you present that much content, that feels like you're a news cycle. Like think of when you follow the news content creators and it's just like topic, and your brain's like very unraveled because you're like consuming 14,000 different topics, right? That's not a reason why someone is following an independent content creator. An independent content creator is followed because they are creating a couple of topics that align well together for them. And my best advice for people is to look at what are the top 3 typical topics that I want to be known for as a human being. And that is the type of content that you should be creating first. And in the form of how it shows up for you, whether it's being replaced into a graphic, into a video, into a picture, etc., that gets all repurposed, right? So start with a long form and then see how you can split it up into different pieces and puzzles, like little breadcrumbs that get people through the door to go back to that long form content. If you're interested about learning what specific type of mediums, because you heard me list them off, I highly suggest you go check out my blog as an example, where you get to go and see where I list out the specific types of forms, whether that's video, audio, or blog, and the benefits and how you can use it to optimize it. I will link that in the description bar below. So everything that you're doing is about creating a community of happy humans that know you, like you, buy from you, and tell other people about you, right? Like that is the core of everything that you're doing with the content that you're creating. So what that means is that every single one of these topics need to tie back to your main message. Like I said, they're the pieces of the puzzle that tie everything to show the whole entire view of who you are. And each piece of your content, like I said earlier, is the reason why someone goes and follows you. If you have a reel go viral, that person's going to be curious about who you are. They're going to end up on your grid. They want to know what other content that you produce. And then in their brain, the question is, why should I continue to follow this person? It's not that single viral post that makes you big. It's all of your content in conclusion that makes it to where that they're excited to follow you, right? It's about thematically tying it together so that they don't feel like it's so like very splintered in any single way. And it's a balance, meaning if you have a format of a content that goes viral, it's not just about rinse and repeating this content all day long, right? Notice how I kept saying again and again, it's about topics that align. If you post about XYZ topic, then you do it and not just simply the format. Because at the end of the day, guys, we are squirrels in our brains at times, and that means that we're gonna get bored. And here's how you know if your audience is bored. It's not the engagement rate, it's literally you getting bored. Because when you get bored, that means that chances are some of your actual consumers are also bored as well. And to my earlier point, if that you're bored, you're not probably gonna put the same amount of effort in as before, and it shows up very quickly if it's not fully thought through. When you're thinking about creating your content and choosing your medium, it's about the topics and also the content, and then connecting it thematically across the board. And that thematics is also based on the seasonality of your consumer, right? You can talk about all these things. A lot of your content is going to be evergreen. And what we also need to understand is that sometimes there's a timeliness that it goes to, and that ties with your sales goals too. There are high season and low seasons in almost every single business out there. And it's about knowing where your customer mindset is so that you're creating even evergreen content to where they are able to go and see you and be like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. Like things are still relevant, and everything ties back to the larger narrative that you're creating for your customer so that they want to follow you. So for example, myself, I do create timely long form content of annual reports that I do. So going through all the marketing trends, like I become the huge mega nerd and I deep dive and I do that, and I set it every single year. It is a timely content that is not actually evergreen. It's more related to the year of the time. And that is what I do every year, and people follow me for that content. And so that's like the viral content for me, right? But then I have like all of this content, these videos that I create for my audience that is truly evergreen in the thought process, but it's designed so that I can always send it back to my clients and be like, we talked about this already, but hey, here's this video right here. So if you're a client watching this video, we probably had a conversation beforehand about it. And that is a reason why my clients stick with me. That's a reason why my audience sticks with me, because I'm creating content that gives them value, that I will take this video and slice and dice in multiple different ways to go on social media. And it's evergreen, meaning I can pull it up again a year later, although my hair might be totally different. Now, if you're interested in continue getting more content or knowing when the next annual trend report happens, I highly suggest you hit that subscribe button. Hey, I gotta plug in somewhere, right? And remember guys, nothing happens overnight when it comes to deciding and creating what medium works, what doesn't work for you. It's about just having fun, right? Like I said earlier, deciding the medium that you want is like painting and in another art form. And just like in painting, you're gonna have a ton of different case studies. You're gonna have a chance to play and figure out and paint and do all of the different things, right? And that's totally okay. Have fun, throw spaghetti on the wall, figure out your style of creating content. I mean, every single version is an iteration of the content that you're creating. But at the core, it's about knowing that it is an iterative process, meaning create, engage, and then analyze, like refine as you go. Be like, oh, I like this version of that I did of this video. I like this version that I did of this video. And then you're gonna see it evolve. I mean, if you're watching and following me on my journey, you're already seeing it evolve as I edit this today and along the way. And so that's the fun part of creating content. And here's the thing, as a recovering perfectionist, guys, there's no such thing as perfect. Trust me, there's not. And that's the beauty of it. Because in the imperfections is actually where innovation and things that are completely out of our imagination actually occurs, that allows us to have something even more fun than expected. So I hope you were able to get some clarity in figuring out what medium that you're looking to do. Be sure to check out the blog to get the list and the breakdown of all the specific mediums that you can play in. And as always, thank you so much for watching. My name is Rorin again, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Remember guys, influence happens one drop at a time. Have fun, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.